In the grand theater of the African savannah, two mega herbivores dominate the landscape. They are the largest land animals on Earth, and their relationship is a complex Cold War, defined not by open battle, but by a subtle, continuous struggle for resources, space, and ecological dominance. To understand this conflict, one must first understand the belligerents. They are not just animals. They are geopolitical powers operating on entirely different social and intellectual models. The architect, the elephant, the African elephant, Loxodonta africana, is the savannah's intellectual superpower. Its primary strategic asset is not its size, but its mind. Elephants possess advanced cognitive abilities, demonstrable problem-solving skills, and a capacity for complex emotions. Their power is not wielded by lone actors, but by a highly sophisticated, multi-generational fission-fusion society. These herds are matriarchal, led by an elder female who acts as a living repository of social and ecological knowledge. This collective, coordinated unit, protecting young, managing resources, and communicating over vast distances, is their most formidable weapon. Furthermore, the elephant is an ecosystem engineer. It is an architect that actively shapes its environment, a strategic advantage that defines the entire battlefield, as we will explore. If the elephant is a collective, the rhinoceros is an armored, solitary state. It is a bastion of primal power, an individualist relying on brute force. Unlike the elephant's complex social machine, both African rhino species are largely solitary creatures. Meaningful social interactions are typically limited to a mother and her calf, or temporary aggregations, known as crashes, of the more social white rhino. Their Cold War strategies diverge based on specialized lifestyles. The white rhinoceros, Ceratotherium cymum. This is the grazer. It is a bulk-feeding specialist, a living lawnmower, defined by its wide, square lips, perfectly adapted for consuming vast quantities of grass. It thrives in open grasslands, a habitat it helps to maintain. The black rhinoceros, Diceros bicornis. This is the browser, a selective specialist. Its prehensile, hooked lip acts like a set of pruning shears, allowing it to grasp and strip leaves, twigs, and shrubs from trees. It prefers the thicker bush and dense thickets. This fundamental political difference, the elephant's collective intelligence versus the rhino's solitary power, is the very reason their conflict is a Cold War. The rhino, as an individual, stands almost no chance in a direct confrontation against the elephant's coordinated social structure and superior mass. Therefore, it is forced into a strategy of avoidance, specialized living, endurance. A direct comparison of the physical hardware of these titans reveals the stark asymmetry of power. The African bush elephant is the undisputed largest and heaviest land mammal on the planet. An adult bull elephant can stand up to 13 feet, 96 meters, at the shoulder and weigh, on average, 14,000 pounds, 6,350 kilo. Some exceptional individuals have been recorded at weights over 22,000 pounds, 10,000 Ecological. The white rhino, the second largest land mammal, seems small in comparison. A large rhino bull may reach 6 feet, 8 meters, at the shoulder and weigh around 5,000 pounds, 2,300 kilos. The black rhino is generally smaller, standing about 5 to 6 feet tall and weighing between 800 to 1,000 pounds. The rhino possesses one key tactical advantage: speed. A rhino can execute a powerful charge at 30 to 35 km/h, 48-50 km/h. The elephant is significantly slower, with a maximum charge speed of around 15 to 25 km/h, 24-40 km/h. These statistics are not just trivia. They are the founding doctrine of this Cold War. A bull elephant can be 3 to 4 times heavier than a bull rhino. In any contest of pure physics, the elephant's mass is the deciding factor. The rhino's speed is its only viable tactic, allowing it to choose a blitzkrieg engagement, a desperate gamble, or, far more often, to escape a confrontation it cannot win. The overwhelming physical disparity makes a direct, hot war suicidal for the rhino, forcing the entire relationship to be defined by the indirect competition and avoidance that characterizes a Cold War. The iconic weapons of each titan are extensions of their biological doctrines. They are fundamentally different in both composition and purpose. The tusk, the multi-tool. An elephant's tusk is not a horn. It is a massively elongated upper incisor tooth, deeply rooted in the skull. It is composed primarily of dentine, a hard, bony tissue, and wrapped in an outer layer of enamel. Crucially, the tusk is a multi-purpose tool. Elephants use their tusks for defense, but also for digging for water and minerals, lifting heavy objects, gathering food, and stripping bark from trees. The tusk is integral to the elephant's identity as an ecosystem engineer. Because it is a rooted tooth, it is sensitive, and its removal by poachers is always fatal, as it exposes the cranial cavity. The horn, the defensive weapon. A rhino's horn is the opposite. It is not a tooth, contains no bone, and is not connected to the skull. It is a unique, compacted mass of solid keratin, the same protein that makes up human fingernails and hair. Its function is almost singular: defense against predators or rivals, and dominance displays. It is a weapon, not a tool for foraging. This biological difference means that if a rhino's horn is broken, it can and will slowly grow back. This distinction is the ultimate strategic asymmetry of the Cold War. The elephant doesn't just fight with its tusks, it remakes the world with them. The rhino can only defend its place in the world the elephant creates. The Cold War is defined by the avoidance of direct conflict, precisely because a hot war is so decisive. While incredibly rare in nature, these open conflicts, both hypothetical and tragically real, demonstrate the true power dynamic. In a hypothetical, one-on-one battle, the African bush elephant possesses an overwhelming and near-total advantage. Its victory is a matter of physics and intelligence. The elephant is 3 to 4 times heavier, stronger, and guided by a superior strategic intellect. It can use its powerful trunk to blind or unbalance the rhino, and its tusks to impale it. The rhino's only hope is to leverage its one advantage: speed. A blitzkrieg charge, perfectly aimed, could theoretically allow the rhino's horn to penetrate the elephant's vulnerable underbelly. But this is a high-risk, low-probability gamble. The anecdotal evidence is conclusive. Observers and guides note that elephants have been documented injuring and killing rhinos on multiple occasions. The reverse is almost unheard of. Even if the rhino were to win a charge, the victor would almost certainly sustain life-threatening injuries. The most telling hot war was not a natural event, but a pathological one. In the 1990s, ecologists in South Africa's Pilanesberg National Park were confronted with a horrifying mystery. Dozens of rhinos were being found, gored and trampled to death. The culprits were not poachers or predators. They were a group of adolescent male elephants. This was a socio-pathological event, born from human intervention. The young elephants, aged 17-25, were orphans. They had been relocated to Pilanesberg after their families were killed during culling operations in Kruger National Park. They grew up in a failed state, a society without the role models of older, dominant bulls. In a normal, stable elephant society, these elder bulls act as a societal police force. They enforce a strict hierarchy, using their dominance to suppress the hormonal surges and aggression of younger males. Without this social structure, the Pilanesberg orphans were, in effect, a gang of traumatized, delinquent teenagers. They were entering must, a state of heightened aggression and testosterone, prematurely and uncontrollably, and taking out this aggression on the park's rhinos. The solution was not military, it was political. Ecologists introduced 6 older, dominant bull elephants from Kruger. The effect was immediate. The old guard established dominance. The social hierarchy was restored. The young male's must was suppressed, and the rhino killings stopped. This exact scenario, a lack of older bulls leading to young males killing rhinos, was also documented and solved in the same way in Hluluva Umfolozi Park. This tragic case study is the most powerful evidence of all. It proves that the elephant's social order is not just an abstract concept. It is a tangible, ecological force that maintains stability on the savannah. When that social order is broken, the Cold War turns hot and pathological, with devastating consequences for other species. The true Cold War is fought every day, without violence. It is an indirect, non-lethal, high-stakes competition for resources. It is a war of dominance, avoidance, and economics. The first question is, why must they compete at all? Elephants and rhinos, both black and white, share the same savanna ecosystems and are often found in the same protected areas, such as Tsavo, Ado, and Gonarejo. Their war is not fought over an open, boundless continent. It is fought within the confines of human development. Habitat loss, fragmentation, and human expansion are the iron curtain of this conflict. We have compressed these giants into artificially small, fenced-in reserves. In a vast, open system, a subordinate rhino could simply walk away from an elephant-dominated area. In a fenced park, there is nowhere to go. Humans have created a high-pressure arena, turning what was once a continental Cold War into an intense siege, where natural strategies of dispersal are failing and competition is dangerously amplified. The clearest flex of power occurs in interference competition, where one animal directly prevents another from accessing a resource. The primary arena for this is the waterhole, especially during the dry season when water is the most critical limiting resource. At the waterhole, the dominance hierarchy is clear and absolute. Elephants are dominant. Rhinos are subordinate. Observational data clearly documents the bullying tactic. An elephant, or a herd, will approach a waterhole where a rhino is bathing or drinking. The elephant will display classic threat body language, spreading its ears wide to appear larger, raising its trunk. The rhino, despite its 5,000-pound armored body and formidable horn, will almost invariably back down. It will be bullied out of the water, ceding the resource without a fight. But a key 1998 study by Berger and Cunningham adds a crucial layer of nuance. The researchers found a gender-based asymmetry in this dominance. It was the female elephants, the matriarchs leading their herds, who were the most dominant, successfully displacing both sexes of rhinos. Interestingly, male rhinos were sometimes observed successfully displacing lone elephant bulls. This reveals a profound truth. The elephant's dominance is not just a function of individual size. It is a direct expression of its social structure. A lone bull elephant may be more tolerant. A matriarch, however, is not acting for herself. She is acting for her collective. Her primary motivation is the protection of her vulnerable calves and relatives. She cannot tolerate sharing a life or death resource with another 5,000-pound animal. The elephant matriarchy is the mechanism of its interspecific dominance. The rhino's strategic response to this overwhelming dominance is avoidance, or détente. If you cannot win the confrontation, you avoid it. Rhinos are actively documented as practicing avoidance of competition. This avoidance leads to a fascinating phenomenon known as niche partitioning, which is most pronounced during the dry season. Research shows that elephants and rhinos actively partition, or divide up, the available water sources. Elephants, particularly the large, dominant breeding herds, show a strong preference for the largest, most reliable water sources, especially artificial water holes and large reservoirs. Rhinos, both black and white, are, in turn, pushed to the margins. They show a higher preference for natural water holes or smaller, less reliable earth dams. This partitioning is not a peaceful, mutual decision. It is the visible, spatial map of the Cold War. The dominant superpower, the elephant, claims the high-value, reliable territory, the artificial water holes, forcing the weaker power, the rhino, into the less desirable buffer zones to avoid conflict. The most insidious form of Cold War conflict is exploitative competition, or economic warfare. This is where one power wins by simply consuming a shared resource more efficiently, starving its rival. This battle is fought between the elephant, a mixed feeder that browses, and the black rhino, a specialist browser. In parks like Gonarajo and Addo, they are in direct competition, eating the same plants in the same places. A critical study from Addo Elephant National Park analyzed this economic conflict by examining the animal's feces. The findings were stark. When elephants were absent, the black rhinos ate their preferred, optimal diet, a rich, diverse mix of woody shrubs and succulents. When elephants were present, the rhinos' diet was forced to change. They restrained themselves and were pushed to eat a suboptimal diet, primarily grasses. For a black rhino, this is a metabolic disaster. A black rhino is a specialist browser. It lacks the specialized grazing adaptations, like the white rhino's square lips, needed to eat grass efficiently. This forced dietary shift increases their foraging costs and provides poor nutrition, which has severe long-term consequences on their fitness and survival. This is the very definition of a Cold War. The elephant wins without a single physical fight. By simply existing in high numbers, it monopolizes the high-value resources, the browse, and forces its rival into a state of economic, metabolic decline. The elephant's ultimate superweapon in this Cold War is its ability to change the battlefield itself. This is the endgame. The elephant is the ecosystem engineer of the savannah. It does not simply live in its environment. It creates it. Habitat maintenance. Elephants push over trees, break branches, and trample shrubs. This is not random destruction. This activity maintains the open savanna mosaic, preventing it from being overgrown by dense forest. Resource creation. They disperse seeds over vast distances in their dung, effectively planting new forests. They use their tusks and feet to dig wells, tapping underground water sources and creating new waterholes for dozens of other species. Their paths create natural fire breaks. This engineering superweapon has a complex, dual impact on the two rhino species. Case 1. The white rhino, the grazer. For the white rhino, the elephant's engineering is a form of pure facilitation. The relationship is one of unwitting, essential alliance. The white rhino is a grazer that needs open grasslands to survive. By pushing over trees and stomping shrubby areas into submission, elephants are the primary force that creates and maintains the white rhino's perfect habitat. In this Cold War, the superpower, elephant, is actively, if accidentally, subsidizing the economy, habitat, of the white rhino. Case 2. The black rhino, the browser. For the black rhino, the relationship is a profound contradiction. It is one of intense competition and simultaneous facilitation. Competition. As seen in Part 3, high densities of elephants are a direct threat. In confined, fenced-in areas, elephants destroy the black rhino's food source. By knocking down too many mature trees, they heavily impact the habitat, making it unsustainable for a coexisting browser. Facilitation. However, a 2018 study in Gonarejo National Park revealed a stunning twist. When elephants feed on woody plants, their messy breaking of branches stimulates the growth of small-diameter coppice stems, new, tender shoots from the broken base. The study found that black rhinos preferentially and disproportionately fed on this elephant-created coppice growth. This dynamic is the Cold War in a nutshell. The elephant acts as both a scorched earth general, destroying the infrastructure, mature trees, that the black rhino needs, and as an accidental farmer, cultivating a new crop, coppice, that the rhino loves. This is a form of ecological imperialism. Oh. The elephant reshapes the world in its own image, and the rhinos are simply left to adapt to the consequences. For the white rhino, this new world order, grassland, is a utopia. For the black rhino, it is a vassal state, simultaneously threatened by the empire's power, but also dependent on the scraps it leaves behind. This entire Cold War, this ancient, ecological ballet of dominance, avoidance, destruction, and creation is now tragically irrelevant. It has been rendered meaningless by an external invader that is wiping both powers from the map. The true hot war is being waged against both species by human-driven, organized crime networks. The ivory trade. Elephants are slaughtered for their tusks. Poaching is a primary threat, responsible for a 90% decline in African elephants over the last 100 years. The ivory is carved into trinkets, and because the tusk is a rooted tooth, the elephant must die. The rhino horn trade. Rhinos are killed for their horn, which is falsely believed to have medicinal properties in parts of Asia. The crisis, which peaked in 2015, is so intense that at least one rhino is still killed every day. The horn, made of keratin, is ground into a useless powder. The subtle Cold War over a waterhole is rendered absurd when both species are being systematically exterminated by a common enemy. The second, and perhaps more insidious, pincer of the human attack is habitat loss. So, surging human populations are pushing farms and settlements directly into elephant and rhino rangelands. This forces a new, more dangerous conflict. Human-wildlife conflict. The elephants, notorious crop raiders, can destroy a farmer's entire livelihood in a single night. This leads to understandable resentment and retaliatory killings, eroding all local support for conservation. This habitat loss is the reason the Cold War has become so intense. As established, by fencing the animals into sanctuaries and parks, we have created a pressure cooker environment. The elephant-driven habitat destruction and the resource competition at waterholes are unnatural in their intensity, a direct result of human containment. The Cold War between elephant and rhino is an ancient, ecological masterpiece, a billion-year-old dance of power and adaptation. The elephant, with its intelligence, social power, and engineering superweapon, has always been the dominant superpower. The rhino, the armored solitary, has survived by adapting, by accepting its place in the hierarchy, and by carving out a niche from the world the elephant creates. But today, this ancient rivalry is a ghost. Both titans are trapped in a modern arc, a fragmented series of fenced-in parks, while a common enemy, poaching and habitat loss, wages a real war against them. Their Cold War is over, superseded by a shared, desperate battle for simple survival. And in this new war, these ancient rivals are, for the first time in their history, unequivocally on the same side.